At 73, Dolores filled 3 entire dumpsters with stuff she'd been organizing for decades. But here's the shocking truth. She wasn't actually getting rid of anything, just moving it around. Sound familiar? If you've spent years rearranging the same items, buying more storage bins, and still feel overwhelmed by clutter, you're not alone. Today I'm sharing 7 game-changing strategies that help Dolores and thousands of other seniors finally break free from the organizing trap and start truly decluttering. The difference, life-changing. Stay tuned, tip number 4 will completely flip your perspective on what you should keep versus toss. Meet Dolores Martinez, a retired teacher from Phoenix, who spent 15 years organizing her 4-bedroom home. She had color-coded bins, labeled drawers, and enough storage containers to fill a warehouse. Yet every room still felt chaotic and overwhelming. Does this sound like your story? Here's what Dolores discovered, and what most seniors don't realize. Organizing isn't the same as decluttering. Organizing means finding a place for everything you own. Decluttering means questioning whether you should own it at all. The difference is revolutionary, especially for those of us who've accumulated decades of memories, gifts, and just-in-case items. Before we dive in, if you're ready to transform your living space and reclaim your peace of mind, hit that like button and subscribe. It helps more seniors discover these life-changing tips. Dolores used to spend entire weekends tackling one closet. She'd wake up Saturday morning determined to organize her bedroom closet, and by Sunday evening she'd be surrounded by piles of clothes, exhausted and overwhelmed. The closet looked worse than when she started. Sound familiar? Here's the breakthrough that changed everything. Commit to just 10 minutes of decluttering daily. But here's the crucial twist. You're not organizing during these 10 minutes. You're making elimination decisions only. Set a timer for exactly 10 minutes, grab one trash bag, and focus on one small area, maybe just one shelf, one drawer, or even one corner of a room. The questions are simple but powerful. Have I used this in the past year? If the answer is no, it goes in the bag. Does this bring me joy or serve a current purpose in my life today? If no, it goes. No rearranging, no finding new homes for items, no buying storage solutions, just pure elimination. The magic happens because 10 minutes feels completely manageable, not overwhelming. Your brain doesn't have time to create elaborate stories about why you need to keep things. Dolores started with her kitchen junk drawer. You know, that drawer everyone has that's filled with rubber bands, old coupons, broken pens, and mystery items. In those first 10 minutes, she filled an entire garbage bag. The momentum was incredible. What makes this approach different for seniors? We often have more physical limitations than we used to, and our energy levels aren't what they were in our 40s. This method respects those realities while still creating real, measurable progress. Plus, decision fatigue is real. After years of accumulating possessions, making choices about what to keep can be exhausting. Limiting yourself to 10 minutes keeps your judgment sharp and your energy focused. The psychological benefit is huge too. Instead of feeling guilty about not tackling your entire house, you feel accomplished every single day. Dolores told me that these daily 10-minute sessions became her favorite part of the morning routine. She'd have her coffee, set her timer, and tackle one small area before starting her day. After just 1 month, she'd transformed her kitchen, her bathroom, and her entryway. Here's what surprised her most. She didn't miss a single item she'd eliminated, not one. This gave her the confidence to tackle bigger areas with the same ruthless efficiency. The 10-minute rule isn't just about decluttering, it's about building the decision-making muscle you need to reclaim your home. Are you already thinking about which area you'd tackle first? Drop it in the comments below. Your commitment might inspire someone else to start their 10-minute journey too. Here's where Dolores had her biggest emotional breakthrough, and honestly, it might bring tears to your eyes. She was keeping sentimental items scattered throughout every room of her house. her late husband's reading glasses on 3 different nightstands, her children's artwork taped inside kitchen cabinets, teaching awards stuffed in closets, and family photos in shoeboxes under beds. She called it keeping memories alive, but in reality, she never looked at most of these items. They just created guilt and clutter everywhere she turned. The solution? She created one designated memory box per major life category, one beautiful wooden box for her 35-year teaching career, one for her late husband George's most meaningful belongings, one for her 3 children's childhood treasures, and one for her own parents' keepsakes. That's it. 4 boxes total. Everything else? She photographed it with her smartphone, creating digital albums, then lovingly let the physical items go. The rule became sacred. If a sentimental item doesn't earn a spot in one of your limited memory boxes, it gets documented with a photo and released. This approach honors your memories without letting them consume your living space and mental energy. Dolores realized she was keeping George's entire wardrobe, his old coffee mugs, and even his worn-out slippers to remember him. But when she was honest with herself, she admitted she never actually looked at those clothes. They just made her feel guilty and sad every time she opened that closet door. Instead, she chose one of his favorite sweaters, his wedding ring, a handwritten love note, and a photo of them dancing at their 50th anniversary. These items fit beautifully in her memory box and brought her joy instead of grief. She donated his clothes to a local shelter, knowing other men would benefit from George's good taste in clothing. The senior advantage here is powerful. We have more life experience to draw from when making these decisions. We understand the difference between honoring someone's memory and being trapped by their possessions. We know what truly brings comfort versus what we think we should keep because of social expectations or guilt. For her teaching career, instead of keeping every single card from students, every lesson plan and every classroom decoration, she selected representative items that told the story of her impact. A few special thank you notes, her favorite teaching award, photos from memorable field trips, and a small figurine a student gave her that always sat on her desk. These items sparked joy and pride, unlike the overwhelming boxes of materials that just reminded her of work she no longer did. The photo documentation was crucial. It preserved the visual memory without preserving the physical burden. She created beautiful digital albums on her tablet, organized by category and time period. Now she could share these memories with grandchildren without worrying about them handling fragile items. And she could look at hundreds of photos without needing storage space for hundreds of objects. Start with one category that feels less emotionally charged, maybe old kitchen gadgets or books you'll never reread again. Build your confidence with easier decisions before tackling the deeply personal items. Be ruthless but respectful of your emotions. It's completely okay to feel sad about letting go. That's normal and healthy, and shows you're honoring what these items meant to you. What's the one sentimental category you've been avoiding? Share it below. You might inspire someone else to tackle theirs, and we can support each other through this emotional process. This strategy completely flipped Dolores's mindset and might just revolutionize how you think about your possessions. Instead of shopping for more storage solutions, organizational products, or containers to manage her stuff, she started reverse shopping, actively hunting for items to remove from her home. Every time she felt the urge to buy something to help organize her clutter, she challenged herself to eliminate enough items to make that purchase completely unnecessary. The psychology behind this is incredibly powerful, especially for us seniors. Many of us accumulated possessions during times of economic uncertainty, post-war scarcity, or when raising families on tight budgets. Our brains became wired to keep things just in case we might need them someday. We learn to see abundance as security, but reverse shopping flips this script entirely. Instead of accumulating, you become the curator of your own life, carefully selecting only what adds genuine value to your current reality. Here's exactly how it works. Before purchasing any storage container, cleaning supply, organizational tool, or space-saving gadget, commit to removing at least 10 items from the area you're trying to fix. Set them aside in bags or boxes ready for donation. Then ask yourself honestly, do I still need that organizational product, or did removing those items solve the problem naturally? Dolores was about to spend $200 on a fancy closet organization system with multiple hanging levels, shoe racks, and specialty dividers. But first, she applied the reverse shopping rule. She removed clothes she hadn't worn in 2 years, shoes that hurt her feet, and accessories she'd forgotten she owned. 3 bags later, her closet had plenty of space, and she could see everything clearly. The expensive organization system became completely unnecessary. The same thing happened in her kitchen. Instead of buying more drawer organizers and cabinet shelves, she eliminated duplicate utensils, expired spices, and appliances she used less than once a year. Suddenly, her existing storage worked perfectly. She saved hundreds of dollars and gained hours of her life back. Time she would have spent managing and organizing more stuff. The senior perspective is crucial here. We're at a life stage where we should be simplifying, not accumulating more products to manage our existing possessions. This strategy honors the wisdom that comes with age, the deep understanding that experiences, relationships, and peace of mind matter infinitely more than having the perfect organizational system for things we don't really need anyway. Dolores discovered that every storage product she'd ever bought was really just enabling her to avoid making decisions about what to keep. The containers became expensive hiding places for items she didn't want to deal with. Reverse shopping forced her to confront each possession and make intentional choices about what deserved space in her home. The environmental benefit touched her heart too. Instead of buying new plastic containers that would eventually become clutter themselves, she was reducing waste and giving useful items to people who genuinely needed them. Her donations helped furnish apartments for refugees, provided professional clothes for job seekers, and gave kitchen items to young families just starting out. Have you ever bought storage containers or organizers that just became more clutter? Tell us about it in the comments. I bet you're not alone. And sharing your experience might help someone else avoid the same trap. Here's the perspective-shifting tip I promised earlier, and it's the one that surprised Dolores most. She discovered that every single item in her home either gave her energy or drained it. There was no neutral ground. She started walking through each room with fresh eyes, touching items and asking herself one simple question. Does this energize me or exhaust me when I look at it? The results were absolutely eye-opening and changed how she saw her entire living space. That huge pile of craft supplies taking up half her spare bedroom, completely exhausting. Every time she walked past that room, she felt guilty about unfinished projects, frustrated about wasted money, and overwhelmed by the mess. The supplies weren't inspiring creativity. They were crushing it under the weight of obligation and regret. Her grandmother's formal china set, stored in the dining room hutch and never used, incredibly draining. It took up valuable storage space, required careful cleaning, and created constant guilt about not entertaining formally anymore. But her comfortable reading chair, positioned perfectly by the living room window, pure energy. It invited her to relax, represented her love of learning, and created a peaceful sanctuary for her morning coffee and evening books. The family photos on her bedroom nightstand, energizing every single day. They reminded her of love, adventures, and the rich life she'd built with people who mattered. The senior insight here is profound. At our stage of life, we simply don't have unlimited energy to waste on managing, maintaining, or feeling guilty about possessions that don't actively contribute to our well-being. Every item we choose to keep should either serve a practical function we actually use or bring genuine joy and positive memories. This isn't about becoming a minimalist. It's about being intentional and honoring your current needs and values. Dolores realized her home had gradually become a museum of her past selves instead of a sanctuary designed for her present reality. She was keeping items for the person she used to be, The hostess who entertained large groups, the crafty grandmother who made elaborate handmade gifts, the teacher who saved every educational resource. But she wasn't those people anymore, and that was perfectly okay. Her current self deserved a home that supported her current interests, physical abilities and lifestyle. The practical application changed everything. She started in her bedroom, touching every item and honestly assessing its energy impact. Items that drained her energy, whether through guilt, maintenance requirements, or simply taking up precious space, needed to go immediately. This wasn't about the item's monetary value or what it might mean to someone else. It was entirely about its energy value to her right now in this season of her life. The transformation was remarkable. Her craft supplies went to a local elementary school where teachers were thrilled to receive them. Children would actually use those materials to create and learn, giving them purpose, instead of letting them gather dust and guilt. Her grandmother's china went to a young couple just starting their marriage, who promised to use it for special occasions and think of the love behind it. What remained in her home had intention and positive energy. Every item either served her current life practically or brought her joy emotionally. Walking through her rooms became a pleasure instead of a stress-inducing reminder of incomplete projects and unfulfilled expectations. What's one item in your home that you know drains your energy every time you see it? Share below. Sometimes naming it out loud is the first step to letting it go. This technique gave Dolores the most powerful perspective shift of her entire decluttering journey, and it might be exactly what you need to finally let go of items you've been holding on to for years. She had a profound realization when she honestly imagined her daughter Maria inheriting her home someday. Would she want to burden her beloved child with decades of accumulated possessions? Would Maria treasure every single item? Or would she feel overwhelmed and possibly resentful about having to sort through it all? This future self-visualization became Dolores's most effective decluttering tool because it connected her present decisions to their long-term consequences. It transformed decluttering from a chore into an act of love, both for her future self and for the people she cared about most. The exercise starts with imagining yourself 5 years from now. What kind of living space would serve that older version of you best? Maybe you'll have different mobility needs, different interests, or want to spend more time traveling instead of maintaining possessions. What would feel like a burden then that you could eliminate now? Then take it a step further. Imagine the people who will eventually need to handle your belongings. What would truly be meaningful to pass on versus what would feel like an overwhelming obligation? This isn't a morbid exercise, it's an incredibly loving one. You're taking responsibility for your possessions instead of leaving that burden for others to carry. You're making conscious choices about what legacy you want to leave, including the gift of a thoughtfully curated home that your loved ones can appreciate rather than dread dealing with. Dolores started asking herself powerful questions about each questionable item. Is this something I would genuinely want Maria to inherit because it brings value to her life? Or am I keeping it out of habit and guilt? If I were moving to a smaller place tomorrow, would I pay to pack and transport this item? Does this represent who I am now, or is it a relic of who I used to be? The answers were often surprising and sometimes emotional. She realized she was keeping boxes of her children's old school papers and artwork. Not because Maria wanted them, she'd never asked for them, but because Dolores felt like a bad mother if she threw them away. When she actually asked Maria about it, her daughter laughed and said, "Mom, I have my own kids' artwork covering my refrigerator now. I don't need my elementary school drawings. Keep 1 or 2 special ones if they make you happy, but please don't save them all for me." This conversation was liberating. Dolores discovered that many items she thought were precious family heirlooms were actually just possessions she felt obligated to preserve. Her children were more interested in inheriting her recipes, her stories, and her values than her furniture and knickknacks. The senior advantage in this visualization is significant. We have the wisdom and life experience to make these decisions thoughtfully, while we're still mentally and physically capable. We can choose what story our possessions tell about our lives. We can ensure that what we pass on truly represents our values and brings joy rather than obligation. Dolores found that letting go of outdated possessions made room for her current interests and relationships to flourish beautifully. Her home became a true reflection of her present self, active, social, curious, and focused on experiences rather than things. She started hosting weekly coffee mornings for friends, joined a book club, and even began taking watercolor classes. None of this would have been possible when her home was cluttered with items from previous decades. What would your future self thank you for letting go of today? What burden could you remove from your loved one's shoulders? Let us know in the comments. Your insight might help someone else gain clarity too. Here's the brilliant strategy that helped Dolores maintain all her decluttering progress and prevent the gradual reaccumulation that defeats so many people's efforts. For every single new item that entered her home, 2 items had to leave. This 2-for-1 replacement rule created a natural filter system that kept her spaces beautiful and functional while respecting the reality that life continues and new needs arise. The psychology behind this rule is perfect for seniors because it addresses our most common challenges. We're often the recipients of well-meaning gifts from adult children who worry we need more things. We have decades-old shopping habits that are hard to break. We sometimes make impulse purchases when we're feeling lonely or bored. The replacement rule creates a mandatory pause that forces us to consider the true cost of bringing anything new into our carefully curated spaces. So here's exactly how Dolores implemented this system. Whenever she considered accepting a gift, making a purchase, or bringing anything new into her home, she had to immediately identify 2 specific items that would leave to make space for the newcomer. No exceptions, no negotiations with herself, no promises to deal with it later. The 2 items had to be bagged up and ready for donation before the new item crossed her threshold. This rule, well, it created some interesting conversations. For example, when her neighbor offered her a beautiful plant, instead of automatically saying yes, Dolores took a moment to consider what would need to leave her home. She realized she already had several plants that weren't really thriving in her current living situation. So she graciously accepted the new plant and gave away 2 others to friends who had better growing conditions. Everyone won. The plants found better homes, and Dolores didn't become overwhelmed with plant care responsibilities. The Christmas gift situation became much more manageable too. Instead of feeling obligated to keep every single item her family gave her, she used the replacement rule to make thoughtful decisions. When her grandson gave her a new throw blanket, she used it as motivation to evaluate all her linens and remove the ones that were worn or no longer matched her style. She kept the new blanket because it was soft and beautiful, and she donated 2 old ones that had, well, seen better days. The deeper benefit of this rule is that it forces you to stay actively connected to your possessions instead of mindlessly accumulating. You can't just receive or purchase items automatically because every addition requires conscious subtraction. This makes you more selective about what you allow into your life and more intentional about what you choose to keep. For clothing, this rule was transformative. When Dolores bought a new sweater, she had to remove 2 items from her wardrobe. This process helped her identify clothes that no longer fit well, didn't make her feel confident, or simply weren't her style anymore. Her closet stayed exactly the same size, but the quality and appropriateness of her wardrobe improved dramatically. Kitchen items followed the same rule. A new coffee mug meant 2 old ones had to go. A new kitchen gadget meant removing 2 she rarely used. This kept her cabinets functional and prevented the accumulation of duplicate items that so often clutters senior homes. The rule even applied to books, magazines and papers. For every new book she acquired, 2 had to be passed along to friends or donated to the library. This kept her bookshelves current and manageable while still allowing her to enjoy new reading material. Dolores discovered that this rule made her a much more thoughtful consumer and gift receiver. She started asking family members for experiences rather than physical items. Concert tickets, restaurant gift cards, or offers to spend time together. These gifts created memories without creating clutter, and they often brought more joy than material possessions ever could. So, what's one category where you tend to accumulate items without really thinking about it? Kitchen gadgets? Books? Clothing? Share it below. Identifying your personal accumulation pattern is the first step to managing it. The final game-changing strategy for Dolores was creating a 30-day staging area in her garage. And honestly, this just might be the most psychologically brilliant approach to overcoming the fear that stops many seniors from decluttering effectively. Instead of making permanent decisions about questionable items, those possessions that might be useful someday or could have sentimental value, she moved them to this temporary holding space. If she didn't retrieve anything within 30 days, everything in the staging area went directly to charity without being opened or reconsidered. The genius of this approach is that it removes the paralyzing fear of making a mistake. You're not permanently losing items that might turn out to be important. You're simply giving yourself time and space to be absolutely certain about your decisions. This psychological safety net makes the initial choice to remove items from your living space much easier and, well, just a lot less emotionally charged. This strategy is particularly powerful for seniors because we often have deep emotional attachments to possessions that have traveled with us through decades of life changes. The fear of regret can completely paralyze our decluttering efforts. We think thoughts like, "What if I need this someday?" Or, "What if I regret getting rid of this?" The staging area honors these valid concerns while still creating the progress and space we desperately need. Setting up the system was simple but crucial. Dolores designated a corner of her garage as the staging area, using clearly labelled boxes or bags with dates written in permanent marker. She set calendar reminders on her phone for exactly 30 days after each staging session, and she made a firm commitment to herself. When that alarm went off, everything in the staging area would be donated immediately, without opening the containers or second-guessing her original decisions. The results were remarkable and built her confidence dramatically. In 6 months of using this system religiously, she never once retrieved anything from her staging area, not a single item. This proved to her beyond any doubt that she could trust her initial instincts about what to let go. The staging area gradually became unnecessary as her decision-making confidence grew stronger with each successful cycle. Items that went into staging included things like duplicate kitchen utensils that might be useful for entertaining, books she thought she might want to reference someday, clothing that was too small but might fit again, and decorative items that didn't quite fit her current style but seemed too nice to discard immediately. After 30 days of not missing any of these items, she realized how much mental energy she'd been wasting on keeping things just in case. The psychological relief was immediate and profound. Dolores could make decluttering decisions quickly and decisively because she knew she had a backup plan. This eliminated the exhausting internal debates that had previously made decluttering feel overwhelming and emotionally draining. She could trust her gut feelings instead of overthinking every single choice. Advanced users of this system often take photos of items before boxing them for staging. This satisfies the "what if I need to remember what this looked like" worry, while still allowing the physical release of the item. Dolores found this particularly helpful for items with potential sentimental value. She could preserve the visual memory without preserving the storage burden. The staging area also became a powerful tool for handling gifts and inherited items that felt too emotionally charged to deal with immediately. When her sister downsized and offered her some of their mother's belongings, Dolores could accept them graciously, stage them for 30 days, and then make clear-headed decisions without the pressure of immediate choices or family dynamics influencing her judgment. Where could you set up a staging area in your home? A garage, basement, spare room corner, or even a large closet? Drop your ideas in the comments. It might help someone else figure out their own staging solution. 6 months after implementing these 7 strategies, Dolores had completely transformed both her 4-bedroom home and her entire relationship with her possessions. She'd eliminated over 2,000 individual items, filled 47 donation bags for local charities, and discovered spaces in her home she'd forgotten existed under years of accumulated clutter. But the real transformation was internal and profound. Instead of waking up each morning feeling overwhelmed by her surroundings, she felt genuinely peaceful and proud. Her home had become a sanctuary that reflected her current values and supported her present lifestyle rather than a museum preserving every stage of her past. When her daughter Maria visited for the first time after the transformation, she was absolutely amazed. "Mom, I can actually see your beautiful furniture now. This feels like a completely different house. So calm and welcoming." But Dolores's favorite change was subtler. She'd stopped spending money on storage solutions and started truly enjoying her living space again. The ripple effects were unexpected and wonderful. Her friends began asking for her advice and support with their own decluttering challenges. She realized she'd not only transformed her physical space, but discovered a new sense of purpose and expertise. Soon she was hosting monthly decluttering coffee hours in her beautifully simplified living room, where neighbors shared their progress, celebrated victories, and supported each other through the emotional aspects of letting go. What had started as a personal project had become a community movement toward simpler, more intentional living for seniors who were ready to prioritize peace over possessions. If Dolores's incredible transformation inspired you, imagine what's possible for your own home and peace of mind. The journey from overwhelming clutter to serene sanctuary starts with just one simple 10-minute decluttering session. Which of these 7 strategies resonates most with you? Which tip will you try first? Drop your choice in the comments below. Your commitment might be exactly the inspiration someone else needs to finally take action too. Hit that like button if this video helped you see decluttering in a completely new way, and subscribe for more practical, senior-focused tips designed to help you reclaim your home and your mental energy.